Welcome everyone into the Wells Tech Garage for Wells TechConnect. I believe this is episode number 8 now. This one's a little different this time. We're doing it live, so send in your questions and your comments, and remember, anybody who comments in or questions in today is going to be entered into the hat here for a drawing for the t-shirt at the end. So try to win one of these awesome t-shirts right here. I already got a couple names in the hat from a couple people who had sent me some questions over the last week here. All right, it looks like Adrian's here and Hugo, and they're both saying okay. It looks like you guys are ready, so ask some questions. Give me something to answer here. We'll start with one of the questions that was sent in over this last week. Roy came on after our last broadcast. Our last broadcast was on Evap emission systems. He came on and asked, how did we determine that the 12K ohm resistor was inside the computer when the diagram wasn't showing it? And that's a really good question, Roy. And actually, there was a lot of, I guess, really thinking into how the computer reacts involved with determining that. In the code description, it says here to set the code that the control module detects that the command state of the driver, and the driver is the part that controls to ground inside the computer, that the command state of the driver and the actual state of the circuit do not match. So right there in that sentence, they're telling you that the computer's looking for a certain amount of a certain voltage level, a certain reading. The computer has an idea in its mind of what it wants to see, and it's not seeing it. So that means somehow inside of that computer, it has to be able to monitor voltage. It has to be able to see what's going on. And the way it does that is using that resistor inside of there. And we've seen on other wiring diagrams and that kind of thing that there is that current limiting resistor inside of there. This one didn't show it. I believe it was on a map sensor class we did a few months ago. That one did show the current limiting resistor. And basically that current limiting resistor is just acting as a voltmeter inside of the engine computer, inside the PCM. So basically, according to the code description here, 4449, P0449, the control module detects that the command state of the driver, so it's saying the computer is detecting that it's either commanding the vent solenoid on or off, is not the actual state. It's not either, it's not the actual state of the circuit. So meaning the computer commanded it on, it expected to see 0 volts there. It expected the circuit to go to ground to turn the vent on. Or if the vent solenoid was commanded off, it would expect to see, roughly 12 volts or whatever the reading is after it's dropped through the resistance of the circuit. So, I mean, the code description kind of has a hard time describing in an easy to understand way, but by knowing how voltage drop works and how a voltmeter works, and then taking other vehicles that we've looked at before and using that knowledge to incorporate it into this diagnosis, it really helped us to figure out that that was a normal condition inside of that computer. It would have been really unfortunate to put a PCM in that vehicle and have the same thing happen. So that's why we really brought that up in the last class, to be able to show you guys so you didn't run into the same thing. So that was a really, really great question, Roy, and I already have your names in the hat already. So you're already in there. Let's see if anybody else has asked any questions yet. Looks like Adrian's on here. No question though, just saying okay. And looks like he's raising his hand in this little image here. So if you do have a question, Adrian, shoot it at me and let's see what we got. I'll get you an answer out here. We'll go on to the next question that was asked to me last week, also pertaining to our Evap class. Robert came on, and Robert was asking, he had said that when we hooked up our voltmeter at the vent solenoid, and we had our vent solenoid disconnected, we had 1 lead of the meter in one end, 1 lead of the meter in the other of the connector disconnected, that we should see voltage coming from the computer, and that we aren't actually showing a short to ground, but that it's a normal condition. And I think, Robert, that there was just a little bit of confusion, and maybe we didn't do a good enough job of explaining exactly how that circuit worked. But remember, in this circuit, on this vent solenoid that we had on this Colorado, the power is fed directly to the vent solenoid. So from the fuse panel all the way to the back of the vehicle, directly into the vent solenoid. It's powered up all the time. Anytime the key is turned on, there's battery voltage back there. And then the computer's job is to actually go ahead and put that to ground. So if you were showing a ground connection, a path to ground on the ground side, you would think that immediately it's a short to ground and that the vent solenoid would be staying on all the time. Remember, to move that solenoid, you got to have power and ground, creates that magnetic field and slides the pintle inside and closes up the valve. So in order to do that, there has to be a good solid ground. Well, we found out that our ground, essentially it is a short to ground. It's a high resistance short to ground. It's not able to pass any current, but the computer is not actually supplying any power. It's supplying the ground in this circuit. So I hope I was able to clear that up for you, Robert. Also, your name is already in the hat here, so you're entered to win the t-shirt. And still no questions out here. If you guys are having a hard time commenting in or questioning in, if you want to go ahead and bring up my email address, just in case sometimes there's some issues with commenting in. You have to have an account created kind of thing out on live stream or YouTube. So if you're not able to comment in, send me out an email, and I won't be able to respond to it right now, but I will get it answered in the next class. All right, let's see here. And we had another question here. This one is coming from Dave. Dave sent me an email asking about his 2002 Buick Century, 3.1 liter V6 in there. And he's talking about a hard to start problem after the vehicle's been sitting, especially if it's sat overnight or if it's sat all day. You know, start it in the morning, drive it to work, comes out after work, and it's hard to start. After it's been started up and driving around, it seems completely normal. Runs into a gas station or into a store or something, seems completely normal. Starts up just fine. And he's asking what could be causing this. And most commonly for this problem, it's going to be the inside of the fuel pump. There's going to be a small check valve in there, and that check valve is meant to maintain pressure inside of the fuel rail when the vehicle's shut off. So you shut the vehicle off, you want to keep that pressure inside the fuel rail so it's right there ready to go as soon as you turn the key the next time. And what happens is that a check valve inside the fuel pump will deteriorate over time, and the fuel pressure will start to leak back. It'll leak out of the rail, down all the hoses, and back into the tank just because of gravity. When that happens, every time you turn the key on, you're having to refill all of that fuel line all the way back to the fuel rail and to the injectors, and that's creating a longer cranking time. Very, very common thing on these vehicles. That's what I would check first, and you can do an easy test for that. Just hook a fuel pressure gauge up to the rail, shut the car off, and just monitor that fuel pressure and see if you're getting a drop off. It should maintain a good amount of pressure for a few hours at least. You should be right around the spec of the fuel pressure. But also a great question. I have your name in the hat already as well. Doesn't look like we have anybody else coming in and asking any questions. Let me just refresh the pages here. Sometimes comments don't like to load. And not seeing anything, so well, I guess that's going to be about it for today. We'll try this again another time and get you guys out to ask some questions live. I am going to draw the name of these three right here and see who's going to win this time. All right, let's see here. And it is going to be Dave. So Dave, go ahead and send me out an email. If you could bring up my email address again, that'd be great. Send me out an email with your t-shirt size and your mailing address, and I will get a t-shirt sent out to you right away. As for everybody else, join us for our next broadcast. It's going to be next week, Thursday, and we're going to be covering intake manifold runner control systems. We have a 2004 Ford Focus in here that had some issues with the intake manifold runners, and we're going to talk about how to diagnose the system and how the system actually works and what it does on the vehicle, as well as different ways to diagnose the vehicle to know that you're going to fix it right the first time, get to the root cause of the problem. This vehicle was actually in a shop twice beforehand, and was improperly diagnosed. So we're going to talk about that for our next class. So we'll then see you guys on Thursday. I believe that's going to be the 21st at noon. Yep, Thursday the 21st at noon for the broadcast on intake manifold runner control. So we'll see you guys then. Thank you.